My talk today, in consultation with the group which organized this wonderful event, I have a couple of slides to discuss our company and our product, but I would like to connect this section in the afternoon to this section in the morning. So I would like to make it a little bit more entertaining because I understand it's afternoon, right? So let's get started. So yep. The monoclonal antibody that is being in development in our company is the same class, same group as was just presented by our colleagues from AbbVie. And when I say colleagues, I insist, right? Because I think when only two companies in the world are developing brand new molecules, we are colleagues by definition, by marriage, if you will. The mechanism of action is approximately the same. We also believe that the neuroprotective effect is probably, in the context of the spinal cord injury, is more important. Right? The drug is in the phase 2. The study that we're doing is, we're doing it in 3 countries, United States, Canada, and Japan. Obviously, because Mitsubishi Tanabe America, you can tell this is a Japanese company with a significant representation here in the US. So the patient population in this study, cervical, it's in the bottom, you see that slight difference, or actually significant difference from the AbbVie's population. We include HAC. The endpoints, you see it here, they primarily is change in upper motor score. And that is what I would like to discuss today in the context of the discussion which we had in the morning. So I'm not neurologist, neurosurgeon, neurobiologist. My background, I'm urologist with a significant background in uro-onco. So when I joined this company a little over than 2 years ago, of course, and I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. We all who have been in the industry a long time, we know the drill. That's what you do. That's where you look, right? And to get up to speed, to understand the program, you dive into literature, but you also look into what other people did, right? Contrary to the uro-onco, there are no other people. And that was a surprise, but also a challenge. That's how they bought me, right? Very honestly, right? Because I feel that in this juncture in my life, I need challenge, I want challenge, and this is a challenge. We all are facing a huge challenge. So in the discussion which Dr. Fillings, and his thoughts about, how you define your patient population is a very, very important in what I do. And again, I'm trying to steer my team to success. And in doing so, you need to be able to anticipate. This is critical in what we do, like looking into not only in today, but what is going to happen in 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So we are actually, and I'm sure the colleagues from AbbVie are doing the same, we are looking into how we are going to design phase 3 already now, even though we are out for a few years. So in doing so, of course, we are reviewing the endpoints. And my job is to be critical. Right? And I'm talking to this very bright and very smart people in Japan and here in the US, my colleagues who are much younger and maybe not, they're very bright, but they don't have this experience, right? And again, my experience tells me, be critical. And but also be positive. So I'm trying to be positive and critical at the same time, looking at the endpoints. I keep asking these questions, like, why do you think we will carry this endpoint in phase 3? Well, because it's a golden standard. Well, there's no, of course, answer to this question because we need first to complete the trial and then go to FDA and to discuss this all. But I think this is a mindset that we all have to have. Right? Try to anticipate. And my next job when I joined the company was, of course, to learn who are the players and to learn from, oops, I'm sorry, I'll skip this one. No need to do that. But you basically look into the professional society, who are the players in academia, what they published on this. And to my surprise, for somebody who just came from oncology, right, when I visited very recently the meeting in Atlanta, the Asia meeting, right? So one of the surprises I had was a complete absence of FDA from the picture. There were no people from FDA in the room, as it would have been in the oncology societies, and not one, many, right? And they were not talk about FDA, just silence. I'm sorry, just maybe mentioned on the third day in one discussion. And that is a surprise to me, right? I think we all have work to do here. But the positive surprise for me was, you see this picture on the right. So it's actually from the FDA guidelines. But for everybody who's been in the area of spinal cord injury, it looks like a picture of the scientific paper, right? Like published by Mary J, maybe, right? So the point I'm trying to make, we are actually on the agenda of FDA. They are, outstanding their hand to us. If you look into their, and I'll skip through the few things, they recently published a series of guidances. All of them are intended to guide us to how the drug development and development and clinical assessment measures should be conducted from the beginning to the end. It is universal. It's not only for spinal cord injury. But in this guidance, they're using examples of spinal cord injury world every time, very often. So they're actually using us as a model to demonstrate how it has to be done. Right? I think it's an interesting sign. I think we should listen. I think they want to talk. So this is what I prepared, right? All the rest I copy-paste from somewhere else, but this is what I want to just share with the team, right? Because these are my thoughts on how we have to look at the available clinical outcome assessment measures, right? We all understand their gaps. We all understand they're not perfect. But what I think is not sometimes understood in the academia is how different we are supposed to do things in industry. And let me explain to you what the difference, right? The blue big balloon, let's say it is, Scheme 3s of this world, a tool that was developed to universally cover most of the spinal cord injury patients. So what FDA actually expecting from us in the industry, that when we will select the measure which we think should work in a phase 3, and not only work for a scientific publication, but will allow us to label the drug, to be approved for this. What we should do, we should look into whether this measure actually good fit to our patient population. And when I say our, I mean population in our specific clinical trial would be a pivotal study that will plow the way to approval. So again, and that is the key difference, right? Because FDA wants us to narrow down to make sure that the endpoint that we are using actually works for our specific population. And the way it was, the validation of this process is outlined in these guidances, which are very interesting and entertaining to read. By the way, I don't work for FDA, not as a consultant, right? But I'm promoting the work they've done because I think they've done a great job, right? It's very interesting guidances, which I think we all have to be aware of, right? Because again, in my multiple discussions with FDA, they're human beings. They want to be part of what we do. But they want also us to understand what they do, right? So they're also academia present here, right? In academia, multiple tools were developed. One of these rationalists, Linda Jones is going to be speaking after me on a different subject, but again, lots of work went into the developing and refining tools which allows you to actually detect the misfit between your population and the actual tool. And potentially, either modify tool, remember this picture, right? There are three ways. You either develop the tool which is completely brand new, which is, I think, suboptimal, right? The yellow balloon on the right. Or you take the existing tool, green balloon, right? Maybe, minor adjustments like rescoring. Or sometimes you would need to modify it. Again, also not ideal because it's actually lots of work and it takes time, takes years. Right? So when you're coming to FDA for your phase 3 discussion, it's too late to do that. You have to do it way in advance. Apologies for I'm jumping between the slides, but I only have 10 minutes. So again, everything is, I recommend to read these guidelines. It's not just entertaining, it's informative, right? It allows you to better understand what regulators want from us, right? They are given multiple examples of what needs to be done, but also it gives you a sense of how academia, scientific groups, industry should work together, because some of those things we cannot do in isolation. Like, for instance, timing of the assessment. Right? The INSCI, right? The Dr. Guest is going to present here, and they publish like 48 hours, INSCI is more stable than in the beginning. We need this kind of work. We cannot move forward without this, right? And so the collaboration between us is absolutely critically essential, right? But again, I keep saying that we need to be geared to be able to evaluate whether our assessment is fit for purpose every time we do the next study, every time. So don't be frustrated, please, in academia when we will come to you and say, listen, we are going to modify something, or we are going to test whether this tool is good for this purpose. Right? It's not because sometimes I'm getting these looks from professors like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? We've developed this perfectly good tool. That's because. Right? Because we want this tool. And Jake was speaking earlier in the morning. He said, we want you to ask us smart questions, right? But Jake, we only can ask smart questions if we know that some questions are not smart. So we'll keep reaching out to clinicians and to patients with all the questions about whether this tool is good or not, right? Because all this work, and I'm almost 20 seconds from closing. These two slides demonstrate like what needs to be in the dossier, because in the end, what we're bringing to FDA is the books and books of primary research with patients, physicians, interviews, quantitative, qualitative, demonstrating that our decision on whether this is a good fit or not is actually not our decision. It's actually patients' decision. Because we are interviewing patients. We are interviewing them in the methodology which is recommended by FDA and developed by professionals in psychometric science, right? So this research is actually literally patient-driven research. And believe me, it was a little bit shocking for me coming from oncology, where the patients' research, well, for a variety of reasons, well, appreciated but not really done. Right? But I think in this therapeutic area, we really must work together. There's no way, there's no other way. Right? So the patient's in the center, and we are all working together. Thank you very much.